Hello, Ravens. Welcome. We have yet another amazing interview today. But before we get started, I am Puppet Master N. And Sarah, tell us who you are.
Hi, I am Sarah Sweetbee.
We are both streamers here on Game Raven Review, and Sarah is also our community manager, and I do a lot of stuff too. So yeah, but we're very excited to have David here with us. David, do you want to introduce yourself and just give us a very short synopsis of your game?
All right, great. I'm the developer of the companion. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a little awkward for me as it's my first time doing this. Uh, the game you play as a spiritual creature and embark. You follow this family who's been through a few things and they're on a quest home to get back home, and you kind of follow their story and look at these visions that give you some snippets of their tale, and they show a little bit of the past, present, future. It's a little out of sequence. Some people not necessarily like that, but that's the way I built the game, and uh, I think it's an experience. I think the game is it's a beautiful tale, as I say.
Yeah. And we'll jump into some storytelling and stuff. I'm very excited to hear about your process in general. But before all of that, David has a gorgeous preview of this game that I thought we could start with. So I'll have you guys enjoy this beautiful trailer he put together.
Leaving our friends? Leaving everyone we know? Promise me we're in this together, okay?
I promise. I wish this world didn't require these sacrifices.
I don't want to leave.
I'm counting on you to keep your sisters safe.
I know. There have been other attacks.
Our home.
This is not the same place we left.
All of my memories, wishes and whispers, spinning round and round again. We've come so far.
Oh my gosh, that trailer always gets me. I always get teary when I when I see it. It's just oh, it's so beautifully done, David. Thank you for that. Um
Thank you.
yes. I wanted to shout out Whitefoot is here in chat with us. Hi Whitefoot. She is Emily Reynolds, and she is one of our editors here at Game Raven, and she has written a gorgeous review of your game that will go live on Tuesday, along with this interview. So be looking out for that. I have not had the pleasure to play this quite yet, so it's going to be my first time around. I've definitely watched your trailer a few times, and Sarah played through this yesterday on our stream. And so I'm just going to hand it over to her. And in the background, I'm just going to play through some of the game to give people an idea of some of the gameplay. But Sarah, I'll let you take it. Go ahead.
All right. So you already told us about your game, the premise. You are a spirit embarking on a journey. You are finding memories of this family. What inspired you to make this game? What inspired you to make the companion?
Right. So I figured this was going to be one of the big first questions.
Yeah.
There's a massive story behind it. I'll try to keep it short. Um, I was wanting, I'm a big time gamer my entire life, ever since the Nintendo. Been playing them for 35 plus years. Always wanted to make games. It seemed very difficult. I was never really a programmer. So it was, and then on the flip side, I was always into storytelling. I was working in film in my younger years, and always wanted to be a storyteller. So recently, with this engine, Unreal, and I know there's Unity as well, they made things much easier for independent developers. I picked it up, started learning it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I scrapped many projects, and then I was working on something for about 2 years. It was a little ambitious, and I needed to change that. And while pivoting, I was like, I always wanted to tell stories. Let's do something that can tell a story and be a little simpler to make. And that started this journey, and that was last August when I began this.
Jeez, that was. I also like how you're saying this is like simpler, because having a game this beautiful with all those graphics, I would think that that would probably be more of a complex thing. That's awesome. That I know I've looked into Unity and Unreal. I very, very briefly dabbled in some game creation because it is beyond my grasp. But that's amazing that you were able to get so much done in less than a year, right? Last August?
Yeah, it's about 10 months
Yeah.
now. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Wild.
downplay anybody's ability.
No, that's amazing.
It was certainly not simple, and the game became more than I ever imagined it would. So.
Yeah. And you said you were working on like projects and stuff for about 5 years before that?
I started learning the engine 4 to 5 years ago, and then I started doing my own solo projects until August, when I pivoted to this one, which finally was the one I was able to ship.
That's awesome. All right. What challenges did you face with this game?
Yeah, this one in
With making
particular.
Yeah.
So, I was, not being a game designer ever, the largest challenges were the actual gameplay. Everybody comments on the visuals, which I feel like I do pretty well with visuals, especially these landscapes. I'm not very good with detailed city environments and stuff. I need to work on that, but landscapes has always been sort of something I could excel at. But the gameplay itself was definitely the biggest challenge, and I'll admit it's not the most perfect gameplay experience. I was trying to tell a story, and there's a lot of lessons learned with this game for sure.
It's funny, I believe it was yesterday in the community Discord, maybe the day before, we had a question asking if as gamers you prefer gameplay or story. I typically lead a little bit more towards like the story. As long as there's a good story, I can tough out and figure out the gameplay. That's normally what drives me to like really go for a game, to really get into a franchise. And I know it's something that a lot of people are like, it's very close on. So it's awesome too that, as much as you are a big storyteller, that you were able to also, reflect on the gameplay and work towards that. The landscaping and scenery in the game are absolutely gorgeous.
That was a very iterative process as well. Each landscape is hand sculpted. I didn't use any generation tool.
Wow.
But I kept it simple. The materials are not very complex, but what makes it most striking is just the coloring and the lighting, and it's not so detailed. It's stylized. So there's the three components of the landscapes. It's obviously the assets, the sky asset itself, providing the sun and the beautiful sky, and then the post-process volume that is across the entire level to really tune in the colors. It took a lot of tweaking. Most days, every level went through many iterations of let me change this, change that, and see where it takes me.
Yeah, I love that. And I know, you haven't gotten to this part yet, but as the levels change, at least I know from the 2 levels I played, they changed the palettes. So the colors change a little bit, the scenery changes, like you're in the same area, but just different, I want to say vibes. That feels so like young of me to say, but the vibes of everything just change as the story progresses just from the scenery itself, which I absolutely loved as a player. Like it was so visually appealing to be like, okay, now I'm having a memory, now I am experiencing this, now the whole tone of the chapter has changed. So that was really something as a player I absolutely loved. And what was your favorite part of making the game?
I enjoyed most of it. There was a lot of challenges, but a lot of it was enjoyable. Just creating something and anything visual and that you can show other people is always the things I enjoy the most. The actual code and programming behind everything gets to be grueling, and then you don't really have much to show anybody and get that feedback of what you're doing. So all the visuals. Now the interface elements, I'm not the greatest with interface. We're seeing some help windows, and I'm not totally pleased with how that turned out, to be honest. I tried my best.
I mean, I still think as a player, I wouldn't have even noticed that. It is still pretty simple to follow and figure that out. Although at least that's me. You having the same experience then? Or you getting lost?
I'm so lost.
You
in
are
this
so
game
zoned into
already.
it. You are so zoned into it.
I know.
I'll
It's
save it for.
oh,
Maybe I
it's
can
just
find
so
something.
beautiful. What was your question?
The user interface. I know I picked up the controls, I think, pretty easily. Are you having the same experience?
Yeah, they're pretty
okay.
straightforward so far. I mean, I am a big console player, so I usually play with a controller, which I started this and I was like, oh, I'm playing keyboard and mouse, but that's okay. And so far it's very intuitive, I just, got the first 5 wisps or whatever, so I'm very early in the game for sure. I do have a question for you as I'm seeing this and all the animals. What is your relationship with animals? Why did you choose animals?
Right. So when trying to decide, well, I've had animals my entire life. I live in a rural area, and I have a dog, and I've had every animal you can imagine. But when trying to decide this game, everybody talks about the fox sim that's out there. It's like it becoming its own genre. It probably, if I had known how big it was at the time, maybe I would have done it something a little different, because I really didn't have an idea. I was just like, well, that's a nice way to get around using human characters and dealing with all the problems they bring with game development.
This gem is something just for
So
you
there's no like human
I'll save it for. Maybe I
character
can
that I
find
need to
something.
worry about animating and looking correct, and the people are particles, and you're playing as a wolf, and I mean it's sort of a wolf, and
Yeah.
those
Is there a meaning behind using the 3 tails? Do we figure that out in the story?
Right.
Or is there like a personal meaning behind including that? Because I noticed I've seen a few other like foxes, wolves running around, and they all have like the rest of the animals I feel like are very realistic animals, whereas you're playing as a character that's a little bit more mystical, I guess. Is that purposeful, or is that just to make him stand out as the main character?
Right, so I wish I could have done more fantasy type creatures. When I envisioned this game originally, I'm big into all the sci-fi and fantasy type films and genres. I played a lot of online role-playing games, that everybody's into, and I was always into just like fantasy type creatures. I'm big into like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, all that
Nice.
sort of things. So when I was concepting your character, I wanted it to be some sort of mystical creature, some sort of spiritual creature, and I figured it didn't necessarily have to be a creature we are used to seeing in our world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say, you were talking about your choices of using animals, and even your character design is pretty simple. It's just an outline. It's a silhouette of the animal itself, as you can see. But for me, like, it is deeply spiritual. Like I'm already gaining like, okay, this is a very spiritual, game, and I know my brother lived in Tokyo for 7 years, and he studied Japanese literature. So I do know a little bit about spirituality over in Japan and so on. And so I understand the fox is really important and having multiple tails, and we see that over and over. And I think you mentioned Nintendo before, and I'm a huge Pokemon fan, so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a
Reminds me of Ninetales.
Yeah, it reminds me of Ninetales, but it's like, oh, Three Tails. So, I would have never known that you made those choices just based on simplicity. Like, for me, I'm like, oh, there's so much meaning behind why he chose the silhouette and the spirituality.
Oh, to be honest with you, no, you are exactly right. This character was chosen as a spiritual type character. The animals I wanted to make a game where you played as an animal so that to help with the simplicity, but then when I was coming up with the story, I did intentionally mean it to be a spiritual type of game.
Yeah.
I love how open the characters are. I feel like it's both very easy to kind of plop yourself into saying, okay, I could be this spirit, as well as I was even thinking too, if they were too detailed, it might even feel creepy. So I feel like it kind of keeps a good lighthearted element to the design and keeps it a little bit more visualistic. I guess I don't think that's an actual word, but it keeps the visuals kind of pulled together and looking with that same pattern. And it's nice to think okay, you're in a spirit world, it's not realistic, you're looking at things that we don't know what they look like. So as much as it might have been also a choice for simplicity, I think it definitely worked with getting the point across that you are not a live fox or wolf or whatever you are a spirit.
That's kind of the goal, yes. And as you get through the game, talking about it, I don't know if we're in a spoiler territory or not, but I don't want to spoil the entire game, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're playing, at least what I've played, you're playing mostly as this fox spirit. But I wanted to know, what character did you relate to the most in this, and your favorite characters in the game?
So, even though you're playing this character, it's actually the base model's a wolf, a low poly wolf from a marketplace that I edited in Blender. But you can call it a fox. I don't really care. There's the story characters of the family that we'll see eventually. If you're lost, there's a ability that'll get you to where you need to go.
Oh, I'm just exploring. I mean, I'm just looking at all of the levels and stuff. Yeah. So, and I'm a wanderer when it comes to games. So.
I wasn't quite sure. I was watching the stream.
Yeah, no, I was
so pulled into the visuals sometimes that you're just let's just run around.
Oh, I know. I'm just oh, is that a bunny? Oh, I want to look at the bunny. Oh, is that a deer? I want to look at the deer. So, yes. But it is so helpful to have that, I think it's Q for the keyboard, to kind of show you, okay, where am I going? What am I doing? But it's limited though. I have to get, enough power to use it. And that's so it's not like it's babying me per se.
I think it's a nice balance.
Absolutely.
You get that tutorial feel, but you also still have to do enough things on your own.
Right.
That brings you out for it. It's not a total hand walking, bring the fox here, use W to walk forward, which I really I enjoyed as a player. But yeah, favorite characters, inspiration. Or more on that.
In this game, right? In the game that I'm
and you can tell me your favorite characters in general too if you want.
I mean, I really the character I paid the most time to and thought she ended up being the favorite of this game is probably the girl Jess. She's the main character. But the two children that are in the game are the key characters. I think it turned out pretty well. They're kind of they have a special bond, and that's the type of relationship I just think people need and should have. And I feel I feel most
Found one.
connected with
Look,
those two characters.
Where?
Here they are
Show
right
me.
here, in fact, but
right there in the branch. Do you see it? They're building
and
a
then
nest.
their parents are the other two
Yes, I see it now.
main characters who also
How
get quite a bit
fascinating.
of game time, time in the game, and I can connect with all of them, to be honest, because they're all
This is
from my.
strange. Cody, come look at
I
this.
conjured all of them, so I
What
mean, I
is
guess
it?
they're all a part of me in a way.
What do you think has been
Yeah.
here?
I loved
I don't know.
the children's
This doesn't look very
relationship.
old.
It reminded me a lot
Whatever
of
it is might still be
at least of what I
nearby.
got through. It reminded me a lot of me and my brother because we were
Should we
very
look
close.
for
We
it?
had each other's backs, and that's
Right
very
there.
much how Jess and Cody
We should
really
probably get out
seemed.
of
So
here.
it was
Let's hope
fun
this is
to
passing through.
see them running around with each
You're
other.
right.
Or I
Let's
think
go
there
tell
was one
Father.
scene where they were in trouble. And Jess was like, "Oh my gosh, Mom's gonna, be so mad at you when you get home. I'll race you there. Let's see who gets there first." So it was a nice concern and like playful sibling, and it felt like a very genuine connection that they had.
I do have siblings, yes, 2 brothers. We're all in our mid to late 30s. I guess these characters, though, there's actually 3 children. I limited it to 4 speaking characters, but there's a younger child in this game as well, just to have a 5th. When I was writing the game, I have 2 girls and a boy, children of my own. So there's 2 girls and a boy in this game as well. So.
Was it somewhat inspired by them, or was it just how it ended up being?
Well, my kids are much younger, so I
Okay.
couldn't really write much regarding them. But, I kind of wanted the 2 girls and a boy type of thing.
Yeah. I
How
like it.
How have they reacted to the game? Have they seen it, and what do they think?
They don't know much about this. They just turned 5, so
Oh.
they're triplets.
Oh wow, good for you.
Oh.
Busy
So
house, it sounds like.
it's been quite challenging, yes. Yeah, they recognize it, and they right now they play like the games on tablets and stuff, and that are more their age.
Yeah.
They'll see this at some point.
What about the rest of your family? What do they think? And your family and
Where's
friends,
Cody
you
to help me
know?
with these logs?
My mom was ecstatic because like I went to a kind of an art school for not really film, but 3D graphics and stuff, and I never really put my degree to work. So when she saw that I was trying to make a video game, she was like ecstatic that it wasn't going to waste, that education.
Yeah.
Time to head in. It's getting late. Beth'll be
She was
worried.
very supportive, and yeah,
Where's
everybody's
Cody to help me with these logs?
pretty happy about it. They're just supportive. It's not something that they're expecting it's going to be like a life-changing game. I hope people enjoy it. It's not. I don't think I'm going to be able to quit my day job, but it's everybody's happy I was able to accomplish it and get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is incredible to do by yourself. Absolutely incredible.
Give me a hand, would you?
Yeah.
You and your sister mustn't wander too
I don't,
far.
To be honest, I don't know how it made it this
I
far.
know. We were just having some fun.
Wow.
We
Are
all
you
need be a
looking
little
to do
more
any
careful
other
out
games or to expand
Doesn't
on
like
this
back home.
one, or are you feeling kind of one-hit wonder right now?
I know. There are some decisions we have no choice
Yeah,
in.
so I definitely will
You know
try
that, right?
more, and
Yes, I understand.
everything kind of hinged on
We had a long trip.
how
We're all a bit
how
tired.
popular or successful
Keep
this
your
was.
head up.
It's been doing pretty
We'll be calling
well.
this place home
I'm
in
not
no time.
disappointed with it, but it's
You're right.
probably not going to be like a
It was a long
life-changing game.
But I'm happy to be here.
So
Tell you what,
there's a lot of
That's fine.
challenges ahead.
I may
I'm not
have
quite
saved one
sure
of
if
those
it'll make it
biscuits
onto
from
like
home.
consoles, for example,
You can have it.
and other platforms. I think that all
Really?
determines
last one?
depends on if
Stale
those
biscuits from home. Thank you,
you know,
Father.
places allow you to put it
Anytime,
on their
son.
console and stuff. So this might just be how it is for now, and I had contemplated sequels. I've written a little bit of a potential sequel. So I think my future, I'm thinking of something dramatically different than it for my next game, and I will be doing a next game, and I'll probably give myself a lot more time to do it, because this was a little taxing on health and family, to be honest.
Oh.
I was basically developing from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then waking up at 7 a.m. to go to work, and I was not working from home, and
Water's so clear.
so I was for 10 months, I was basically getting about 5 hours of sleep a night.
Jess and I need to do some
That
sport.
can't be good.
There's so much to
At least
say.
not in the long term, no.
Not sustainable, at least, for sure. But I'm sure, I mean, I know, we've talked to a lot of different indie devs, and they have experienced that as well. It's a lot of work, especially for solo devs. You pour your heart and soul, there's blood, sweat, and tears in this, and it's
Right.
amazing, you know? Yeah, wow. I'm super happy to hear that you want to continue on, though. What are, you know, as you're talking about, you know, if I would do this again or whatever, what are some, like, lessons you learned along the way that you might share with other indie devs or solo devs?
So yeah, there's a lot of lessons. Just everything about this game was a lesson. I didn't know how to do voice actors or anything at first. Everything, distributing it on Steam was a lesson. I never put up anything on Steam before. So, but in terms of game design, the biggest thing, and I struggled with it even till a couple weeks ago, it's like you really have to plan that first time user experience. It was, I probably spent a lot of,
Give me a hand, would
like
you?
the whole wisp
You and your sister
thing that
mustn't
greeted
wander
you
too
and
far.
went up the mountain. That was just implemented like
I
a
know.
couple weeks ago.
We were just having some fun.
I love
Wow.
that
To be a
feature
little more
too.
careful out here. This isn't like back home.
I had I was approached by a few different publishers
I know.
from at different periods through
There are
this
some
development,
decisions
and
we
I
have
gave
no
them a
choice
key
in.
to
know
whatever
that,
build
right?
was live at the time, and only
Yes,
one gave feedback
understand.
back, so I assume most of them didn't really
We
enjoy
had a
it.
long trip.
But they
We're all a bit
said it
tired.
was mostly enjoyable.
head up.
The only
You'll be
issue
calling this
was
place
there was no
home
like
in no
first
time.
time user experience.
You're right.
so
It was a long
so I mean, I
trip,
took that
but
feedback
I'm
and
happy to be
added
here.
what I could,
Tell you what,
but the game was basically
That's
done
fine.
at that point.
I may have
so,
saved one of those biscuits from home.
It is where it's at, and
You
my
can
next
have it.
game will definitely focus a little more on that.
Really? The last one?
Yeah, that's
Stale
gotta be
biscuits
hard
from
to
home.
like have
Thank
something
you,
that's almost
Father.
complete, and then you get feedback
Anytime,
like that,
son.
and you're like, okay, either I, you know, redo everything or, you know, do what I can.
You
Yeah,
create
how,
like a little level in the beginning that has nothing to do with the game, but gets
Yeah.
everybody acclimated to the controls or something. I don't know.
yeah. Sarah, how
With a
was
story-based game, that would be difficult to add something totally unrelated. It would just it would have thrown me off guard. So I think it ended up flowing very well with what you did end up doing.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing now that it's out there, you know, I get to read the reviews. I try not to take them too to heart, too much, you know. But it's difficult. I think the game takes about 5 hours or so. For some, that's too long or too short. Some people, it's taken them 8 or 10 hours, which is probably too long. So pacing, I think pacing of the game is very important. I meant for this to be a more relaxing,
a hand, would
casual
ya?
experience. So my
You
goal
and your
was
sister
like a
mustn't
5-hour
wander too
game,
far.
4 to 6 hours. Maybe
I
you can
know.
do it under 4
We
if
were
you
just
like
having some
speed
fun.
run it or something. But to see
all
people
need to be a
taking
little
8 or
more
more
careful
hours, I
out
feel it will feel a little
isn't like back
grindy and long, and
I'm not sure I like it out here.
so it's a tough
I
challenge
know,
for
I
sure.
know.
I think a
There are
lot
some
of that might be
decisions we have no
exploration,
choice in.
though. I know sometimes
You know
games like
that,
this,
right?
I drag games out. I
Yes,
chronically
I
will
understand.
not finish games except if I have to
We had a
finish
long
them, like
trip.
for my
We're all a
reviews.
bit tired.
I like them to last
your
as
head up.
long as they can.
We'll be calling
I
this
love
place home in no
MMORPGs.
time.
Like I love that they're never ending. So I was
was a lot of
somebody,
fun.
I had a moment where I was just like, you know, we're gonna run around and try
Tell
to
you what.
get as many essences as we can. And I spent 20 minutes
I
doing
may
that.
have saved one
So
of
I
those
think
biscuits
it
from
seems
home.
like it's really a
You can have
you can choose how long the game takes for you. If you really just want to go get all these missions, you can just use the wisp and go
stale
straight to
biscuits
them.
from home.
Or
Yep,
if you want to be
Father.
like me and Ed and just kind of wander around and stare at the waterfalls and stare at the sky, you can do that too, which I really enjoyed. That doesn't push you too fast, but it doesn't make you take forever to get through the story.
Right. I mean, it's great to hear what you guys are saying. That's how I envisioned it to be played. The whole wisp mechanic itself was a complete challenge on its own. I don't know if you guys knew there was a demo in February, and that ability did not exist in February. It was in this type of game, the big challenge was, okay, I'm gonna have pockets of story scattered through this open world. I don't really know of any other games that have done that really to this extent. How do the players find these objectives without, having a big shining light that tells you where they are? So I figured an ability needed to be used to find them. And the first ability that I tried was a visual thing where the whole scene turned like black and you saw these like orbs that were like lit up and you would go to the orbs and it was like a spirit vision type of thing. And the demo in February showed me that it was not a very good ability.
Wow.
So
lots of trial and error, overall. But that's kind of, that's the essence of the creation process, though, You fail and you fail and you fail and you just keep going until, you have something. And, so far, it surprises me that, all those issues were happening, because it seems very straightforward to me here. So, it's,
right.
So different. Just adding that small little mechanic. How have you done your play testing? Do you just have family and friends give you feedback, or what has been your process with that?
Yeah, the first beta key or whatever. So I got it on Steam in October. It was only in development a couple of months, and I had it build in October. I gave it to my brother, thinking he might help me out, but he never did. So. A lot of my testers, I didn't have too many, but came from Twitter, and I just asked people, do you want to test my game? I had some very good ones that, gave me a lot of feedback, and a month and a half ago, I did another pass and tried to get more people, and it's difficult because you give out maybe 5 or so keys and maybe one person will test it, and but I was lucky to have at least a little better than that. And I was working with a composer who got onto this project pretty early on. So I say this is solo developed, but I did enlist the help of a composer. He sought me, and we agreed to some terms. And we communicated about the game a lot, and he would give me a lot of feedback as well. I put in 90 hours of testing throughout the 10 months.
Wow. Well, we like to talk about, here at Game Raven, a lot of us are content creators, so we're streamers, and people who are in our community are gamers as well, and we have a few indie devs, but we like to talk about the relationship between gamers, streamers, and indie devs. And I've said this before, reviews are so important. What you say in your review, indie devs read that, so be careful about what you say. Really give thoughtful feedback. And what I've heard, from other indie devs is that the hardest thing for them is to get feedback about their game. That's the hardest thing. So for everybody who's watching here, if you're a gamer and you're playing indie games, please leave reviews, give feedback to creators, constructive feedback, because they need that for the creation process. And I think this is a great example of that, David.
Oh yeah, for sure. Getting the feedback you're talking about, it was extremely difficult. When I did get it, I didn't take it for granted or anything. I made a bunch of notes, and I would go through the list of notes and try to fix almost everything they talked about, because I figured if they mentioned it once, hundreds or thousands of other people will mention it a lot. So I wasn't married to any of my ideas necessarily. I was willing to change almost everything. And I'm still working on an update. I hope I don't have to do many updates, but at this point I don't want to drastically change the game, but there's a few tweaks that I am planning to hopefully smooth out some of the gameplay in certain spots.
That's awesome.
Yeah. As I'm playing through this, you mentioned that you worked really closely with a composer. And I'm a musician. I have a music degree, and so even in your trailer and everything, the fingerprint of that composer is very much in this game, and you can totally tell that there was somebody who, you know, lived and breathed music that was a part of this. Can you tell us a little bit more about who they are and what your relationship is like?
So I'm in the United States and he's in Australia. So when I was developing at 2 a.m, it was the perfect time for us to communicate. I mean, our relationship, I think, is pretty good. He, what part of the States? I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, me too. Small world.
Your neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than 2 hours away, most likely.
New Jersey's a small state.
So his name's Hugh Wagner. He's in the credits. Hew, and he I don't know too much. I know he does. His music is his life, and he did a fantastic job with this game. I couldn't even believe that I was able to get a composer that would do this quality of work. I anticipated just purchasing music from like a library online, you know, for like 20 or 30 bucks a song or something. But he, you know, I think what he provided was so much better.
Right. Yeah. We've on our we have a podcast here at Game Raven that comes out every week, and we've been talking a lot about music and, you know, creativity that happens with music and the relationship between developers and musicians. And honestly, and I said this on the podcast and I'll say it again, music makes or breaks games. And if you're creating a game that is you know, an emotional experience like the game that you have, your music is going to make or break that. And I mean, your composer has done a beautiful job of this, and I can even tell.
It really pushes you to feel how you're supposed to feel.
Yep. Yeah.
It directs you so well.
So very much. And I can tell that you have a great relationship with this composer. You said that he approached you. What was the story there?
I think we're just both trying to make it in a difficult industry, you know. So I don't even know what he saw of my initial footage on, like, it was through Twitter. I posted some clips, you know, screenshot Saturday or something, and I was getting a lot of messages from composers. He was maybe the 10th one, and I was just turning them down. I didn't have any money or budget for this sort of thing. But he wanted to provide me some samples of his work, and he provided me like 9 songs or something, and it was the perfect fit. It was what I was looking for, and I told him up front I didn't really have the means to pay him what he was worth, but we came to an agreement. So it was. It's been a long journey for him too. For him it's been 8 months or so of this game. You know, I think most composers, they come in towards the end or something maybe, and they don't have to deal with it that long, but it's been a pretty long journey for both of us.
That's awesome that he was able to help through the journey too. It's somebody to kind of help you shape that story at the same time. I know you said he also helped you provide like some feedback for the game as well, but you can really tell that it was a close working relationship on both ends for that.
Yeah, for most of the time it was the two of us, and then we had some testers here and there that would come and go, but he was always, you know, right there. At some, you know, there were points I thought maybe he'll just give up on it and do something better with his time, but we both stuck with it to the end. I'm sure he was thinking the same thing with me, like, will I ever finish it, you know?
Yeah. You also mentioned too, like, you're like, I wasn't able to really pay him what he's worth or whatever, and I feel like, you know, I know at least as a musician I've run into that too. It's like there's a project here and I'm passionate. Like you have to weigh between the, you know, monetary worth of something and the passion and what you get out of it that can't be quantified, you know, with money. And so, you know, any creative has been there, you know, and I'm so happy that you two, you know, reached reached a point where you could kind of agree on those two things or like meet together, somewhere between passion and monetary value.
Right.
Yeah. I want to ask this too because it came up in our last interview. And you can tell us as much as you want or not. But when it came to releasing your work into the world, a lot of challenges that indie devs face is, how do I put a monetary value on this creation I just made? What was your process with that?
Yeah, that was very difficult. You want to. There's no right answer to this one. I mean, you're targeting different crowds. You're looking at what else is out there. I asked people who buy a lot of games on Steam, what would they, what's a good range? And right, I listed it for $14.99. The pricing of it was very difficult. I know that probably targeting the under $10 crowd is a sweet spot for a lot of purchases. I just didn't want to sell this game short. There was a lot of time, money, and everything put into it. I felt like it just needed to... I don't know. I think it's a fair value. It's fine. When I was building this game, I was imagining it being equivalent to going to the movies and watching a movie,
Nice. Yeah.
That's fair, yeah.
So I kind of priced it as if you're going to the movies, was my mindset.
Oh, interesting.
I like that analogy for that.
Yeah.
And I think it's good too that you didn't just focus on being under that $10 mark. I know I'm not a dev myself, but I love watching things about it. And people were talking about the strange pricing, and how sometimes they were getting so many sales when they put their game up for $1, but then they're not making a profit. And I think it's really great to see people, making that stand for their art and making sure that they are getting paid what they're worth, because this is a beautiful game, and I don't think it should have been sold for $2 or anything like that. So people are going to buy a quality game for a quality price.
Right. I mean, I don't want to dive into the financials too much, but I mean, the longer it's out, I'm sure one day it'll be $1 or $2, and hopefully when it is, the people that didn't that want to experience it, they will at that point in time.
Yeah.
I would
Sales
have
are
no
good.
problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so I will take this moment to get onto a soapbox for a minute as a gamer who enjoys indie games and who wants to support small creators. As gamers, we get really excited when we have bundles or we get free games or stuff like that. But I encourage all of you to remember that these are small creators and they have worked really hard on these games. And if you are able to, please purchase games. It's just so important to pay our creators for the hard work that they're doing, because it's a passion project. And let's be real, we all want David to keep creating, right? And he can't do that if he doesn't have the financial support as well. So let's make that a point to really support each other, not just. And if you can't do it monetarily, that's totally fine. If you're looking for other ways to support indie devs, talking about them on Twitter, talking with them in your Discord community and so on, that totally helps too. And even just playing the games and giving feedback, there's all kinds of ways that we can support, our much loved indie devs. As our last kind of question, David, how can we support you?
I think you guys are doing enough here. This interview hopefully is a positive, and then your review, I can't wait to read it. That's all I ask is, I just want anybody who is into this type of game, give it a try. I just want to get the word out there that it exists. I think that's one of the toughest things, is making people aware of your game.
Yeah.
What advice would you give those first-time players? Is there anything that they should look forward to, or anything that, they should be expecting with your game that you would like to leave them on a note with?
I think you really have to go into this game expecting that it's meant to be a very relaxing, casual game and not to rush it. I feel some of the toughest critiques of this game come with the players trying to rush through it.
That's really good.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I just summoned another spirit. I have had so much fun with this game. Absolutely. But we only have so much time, so I want to ask you, where can we find you? What is the just do
plug your stuff.
Yeah, plug your stuff. Give us the whole rundown, David.
Sure. So even though I'm a solo developer, I'm developing under the handle Studio 46, which is an homage to my children's birthday, 4/6. And so Twitter is @Studio46, and the email is @Studio46@gmail. But Twitter is the main place that I focus on, and everybody can get me there. The game's website is thecompaniongame.com, and those are the main places.
Nice. And I do want to mention, when he says @Studio46, he doesn't mean the symbol @ it's like AT, right?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. AT, because Studio 46 is pretty generic and taken almost everywhere.
So AT Studio 46. Well, thank you so much, David. Do you have anything else that you want to mention before we close?
Thanks for having me, Game Raven Review, and I'll keep an eye out on what you guys do, and hopefully I'll be starting my next game here shortly, and we'll talk again.
Yes, get some rest first, though, my friend.
Yeah, no more 10 months of 4 hours of sleep, please.
Yes.
Save your health.
Yeah,
Save your health.
We can be patient.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to have a restful summer. So.
Good.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we are Game Raven, and we do a lot of really fun things on our channel. So we have, streamers who are streaming every week here on our channel. We also do interviews. You can find us at GameRavenReview.com. I am PuppetMasterEN, and I'm also a streamer here on Twitch. And my indie game nights are Friday nights here on this channel. Sarah, you want to go ahead and plug your stuff too?
Yeah, so I'm SarahSweetBee. I am also a streamer. I am also very active on Twitter. I stream my indie games. We're kind of floating my schedule around, but I'm either Thursdays or Saturdays, and I'm going to be continuing the companion for my next few playthroughs. So if you're looking for more of that, if you want to see where this story goes, you can make sure to tune in. We just got past the prologue last night, so we're going to be moving into the acts and when the story really seems to kick into gear. So I'm really excited to see where that takes us.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you around soon. Thanks. Bye.
See you guys.